So welcome to the end of 2018. 2018 has dealt some real blows to fans of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, both some in story, so you know those will get resolved, and then there's the recent announcement, just a couple months after hearing the word that Iron Fist and Luke Cage were being canceled. After a pretty well-received third season of Daredevil, Netflix said Daredevil is done. They've canceled the series. There won't be more episodes. This one just seemed especially like I guess a bit more of a gut punch, because a lot of people have expressed how strong they felt that this third season of Daredevil was, especially after the somewhat uneven season 2, which started off really strong with its Punisher storyline and then just kind of petered out. Now, I'll confess, I don't have any opinion on seasons 2 of any of the shows, or season 3 of Daredevil. I've not gotten around to watching any of them yet. I'm not sure what it is, but I didn't feel the intense urge as soon as the second season started dropping. I still just didn't feel like I got to get this in. There was just some sense. And then I was starting to see people have rather lackluster responses, both to Jessica Jones. It felt like there was more criticism of areas where people felt they dropped the ball as creators, especially in the area of diversity of characters, which just kind of dampened my enthusiasm. I stand in a contrarian belief that Jessica Jones' first season was the only darn near perfect season of any of the Netflix shows until The Punisher. Those are the only two shows where I never felt like, get to the point already. Both the first season even of Daredevil had a lull where it just felt like, oh my gosh, you're dragging this out to pad episodes. And Luke Cage's first season suffered from that, and Iron Fist's season was abysmal because of it. And, you know, it just kind of, by the time the Defenders came out, I watched it and I was just kind of like, eh. It had its moments, but it just, yeah. So for me, the Netflix MCU, and so for me, the Netflix corner of the MCU was kind of dying out. Plus, it was getting frustrating how, because it was technically viewed as TV, these really good characterizations weren't getting acknowledged in the films. The films just ignored the existence of the Netflix MCU shows, even though, you know, it was almost all acknowledgement was happening on the Netflix show side. And even that was vague, so it was just very kind of disappointing. And you would think that as critically acclaimed as those first seasons were, the MCU would be going, no, we gotta slip these guys, we gotta slip a few of these guys in, at least get Daredevil in a film, you know, not his own movie, but like, yeah, get Daredevil to appear in an Avengers film or something. Jessica Jones, Luke Cage. And honestly, I kind of would have liked to have seen them launch into a Heroes for Hire film centered around like Luke Cage, Iron Fist, Colleen Wing, Misty Knight, and maybe bring in a couple other of the street level characters, like, you know, or kind of some of those old characters like Shang-Chi. Of course, that's not even an issue anymore because it's just been announced that they are, in fact, working on a Shang-Chi movie, which I think is great. I kind of hope that it's a smaller film in the sense of its scope, and maybe even kind of, but also kind of has like that 70s kung fu vibe. Because that's a part of what brought that character out. Don't take the bad, don't take the embarrassing stuff, but just take the fun, the fun of some of those old movies, the things that people flocked to see, the kick-ass fights and stuff. But even though all the actors have kind of started talking as if they are done, they're not coming back. But what I've found really kind of interesting is how people have responded. Because a lot of the fan response that I've seen has gone like this. Oh, but the last season was so good. Well, but surely Disney's going to pick up the ball here and we'll get more episodes. And I don't think so. Now, I'm not saying I'm not going to be wrong. I certainly could be. I am not, however, as confident that that's going to happen. Disney has made it very clear that they probably won't go above a PG-13 rating for anything on the streaming service. In other words, there will not be any R-rated content. R-rated content is all going to go to a certain area of Hulu because they have a stake in Hulu. That's especially true of, like, a lot of, people have been so excited about their purchase of all that 20th Century Fox content, but that means you're not going to get Deadpool on your Disney streaming service. Disney is already actively working on shows that are directly shooting out from the Marvel Cinematic films. They've already confirmed the Thor spin-off, Loki, and confirmed Tom Hiddleston returning to the role, which I find exciting. I do love the idea that they're doing this. I think there's a lot of characters in the Marvel universe that could benefit from that kind of from a small scope show that spins them out of the movies and gives them a longer storyline that they wouldn't be served as well within a main film. But here's the thing about how this is all looking. Because of their rules about the no R-rated content, would have to tone down future seasons greatly. You would really have to change their tone entirely to match more in line with the MCU films. And they never really made any effort to do that on the Netflix shows. The Netflix shows were gritty, street-level programming. You would have to lighten it all up in ways that would change some of the stuff that people really have loved about the shows. So you're either going to get a huge tonal shift, or you're just not going to get the shows. I don't really see it as all that likely that they're just right now keeping it all under wraps, and Disney and Marvel are working feverishly, because Disney and Marvel didn't put a lot behind those as far as their, they had ads in the comics and stuff, but it wasn't like Disney and Marvel were constantly hyping. Almost all the hype you saw came from Netflix. Netflix was the one going, look at our shows, look at our shows. Marvel almost seemed to kind of forget they were there. And I'm just a lot more skeptical and much less confident that the Disney streaming it was a good thing for this. I kind of question. I can't imagine we're going to get a third season of Punisher. They might get a second season out of it, because they haven't announced a cancellation of that or Jessica Jones yet. But I can't imagine that those shows have a long future ahead of them, which is really too bad because honestly, I was really impressed with The Punisher, and I didn't really think it was gonna have a shot at being as good as it was. But we even see that, I think it's over in the UK, that they're putting out PG-13 versions of Deadpool and Deadpool 2. And, well, it just seems like they're doing a test run to see if they could just get away with doing PG-13 Deadpool 3. And it's going to be a lot harder, I think, for Ryan Reynolds and the other creators to be able to push and say, no, we need to release the R theatrically. If these two do really gangbusters, I think that tells Disney, we can do a PG-13 in theaters for Deadpool. We'll leave the R. We'll do an unrated cut on the Blu-ray and ultra high def. Everybody will be happy. I feel like we are seeing the end of that whole Netflix corner of the MCU, and like I said, I haven't watched the most recent seasons of any of the shows since The Defenders. So I'm not really making a judgment value on whether they deserved to be cut or not. I mean, I actually heard a lot of people say they actually thought season 2 of Iron Fist was pretty good, a huge improvement over the first season. At the same time, it just seemed like the minute Disney said we're going to do a streaming service, Marvel and Disney lost interest in the Netflix shows. They just kind of let them do their thing, but they weren't really concerned about being big promoters of it. And I'm not going to say I'm not disappointed. I mean, of all the characters who should have been imported into the films, even just kind of in a supporting role, Vincent D'Onofrio as Wilson Fisk, the Kingpin, should have started appearing in the films. They should have just brought him right over. He should have been kind of a guy who, people were talking about. Because you could have really set him up for characters like Spider-Man even to encounter. But they didn't. And now that seems highly unlikely. I would very happily be wrong on that front, if even that's the only thing they did. But I think it's unfortunate that some of the other great characters are going to be lost now. Are more than likely going to be lost. I think that if most of them come through the streaming service at all, it's going to be kind of new versions, probably new actors, which is just really too bad. I would have liked to have seen Marvel work to integrate them in better, and they never did. And now they're just so far apart that it just feels like Marvel and Disney could care less. They're going to do their own shows. They're going to do their own thing on their streaming service, and that's going to be in line with the movies. And they're just going to kind of ignore it like these guys never happened. It's disappointing to see these shows go that route. I would have liked to have seen Marvel and Disney really kind of push and embrace them as part of the MCU. I think there was a lot of potential there, and so I think Marvel and Disney are dropping the ball here just because of their focus on the film division. But again, I certainly could be wrong. And so that's kind of just my thoughts right now on what's going on with the whole Disney streaming versus what they're doing with the Netflix Marvel shows, and the future of those shows and the Marvel Cinematic Universe. If you disagree, please feel free to comment below, or you can also reach me at Twitter at Tom Wade. That's spelled THOMWADE. I'm more than open to discussion on this. I'm not saying this is the only possible truth, and there's some aspects where I would desperately love to be wrong about what's going forward. So thanks for listening, and have a great rest of the year if I don't return before then for a Tripping Through Gateways video blog. Thanks, and have a great day.